Everyone wants to know what is important when it comes to exercise. I want to build muscle. I want to be stronger. How do I move in this certain way to get to that place? What's important? Is it strength training, cardiovascular training? What matters most? You probably wondered the same thing. Well, in today's episode, we're going to unpack Alex's exercise strategy as well as all of the valuable content you should know about exercise. You're going to leave today's episode with takeaways that you can apply to your life no matter the goals that you have. We hope you enjoy. Welcome back, listeners, to the Holo Health Podcast. I'm back. I hope you missed me. If you didn't, that's okay. I'm back anyway. I know Alex missed me. How you doing, my man?
I missed you big time. Ever since this last podcast that you weren't on, Trevor, I've been crying myself to sleep every night. But I'm doing better because we're talking, so I'm better.
Truly healthy people tell the truth all the time. So he's not. he's definitely stretching that one out. No, the conversation between you and Mary Jo, Alex, was awesome. Listeners, we hope you got a lot out of it. Like the intro said, today we're really going to be unpacking Alex's exercise strategy and then all of the kind of important sub-conversations around exercise. This episode's probably going to be around 20 minutes. It's going to be quick, but it's going to be packed with value. So make sure you listen all the way through. Again, you're going to leave with some takeaways you could apply to your life based on what your goals are. So the reason we're talking, Alex, about your exercise strategy is because in the 3 and 30 from February 15th, special day, shout out Ben Deal, his birthday, February 15th, 2024, you shared your personal exercise strategy over the last 10 years. And one would think in just hearing that, kind of that heading, if you will, that it's a pretty deep thing, right? He's about to share some pretty insane stuff for Alex. If you know Alex, his exercise strategy, it's got to be pretty in depth. Well, here's what he said, listeners. Quote, "I lift something heavy and get out of breath." That's it. He stopped there. End quote. That's not what I would expect, right? And I want to unpack, Alex, why that is your strategy. And I want to kind of challenge you a little bit because I don't know if that's actually been your strategy for the last 10 years. But looking back at this point, that is kind of what your focal point has been. So let's unpack. Why is that your exercise strategy?
Because I'm a simple man, and if it was too in-depth, I'd forget what it was, to be honest. I need something that's going to span across cities, season of life, job, time domains, constraints, anchored in God's design of movement, God's design of exercise, how God designed the body. So over the past 10 years, I have lived with my parents, lived by myself, lived with my wife. I've had no kids, and I've also had kids. I worked in a corporate job, I've worked in ministry, and then I've owned my own businesses. I've lived in 3 different states. I was a student, I was a part-time student, full-time student, and now I'm a business owner. My life has looked dramatically different over the past 10 years. But the one thing that I've been able to sustain is lifting something heavy and getting out of breath. Now, again, that is a very simplistic way of thinking, okay, how am I going to go attack the next 30, 40 minutes when I'm going to intentionally steward my physical body well? But yes, there's nuances and different complexities to that. But my overall filter is that because, one, that's how God designed my body through functional movement, and I'm going to lift something heavy. Because God has given me a body to be able to do that. But then also 2 is to get out of breath. I'm also getting like that cardio piece. I'm working my heart. I'm blowing off steam. I'm clearing my mind. So it's just been able to provide so many benefits, both physically and non-physically, throughout the different seasons and years and times of my life. So it's been, and like we talk about at Holo Health, the correct understanding, number 9, the 9th correct understanding is true health is sustainable. That if you aren't able to maintain or continue what you're doing, it's not true health, because we should be able to do this despite what season we're in. So for me, I'm not saying that this is the end all be all and everyone has to adopt this, but for me personally, now it's going on 11 years. I have intentionally, I think about, okay, did I lift something heavy? Did I get out of breath? Boom, that's it.
I appreciate you unpacking that a little bit there, and I agree wholeheartedly. And it's cool to hear you articulate the different seasons and still kind of following this methodology. But even inside of that, I'm a listener and I'm hearing you say that, but then you mentioned something about lifting something heavy, which is kind of potentially strength training and then getting out of breath and then that being kind of cardiovascular focused or maybe endurance focused. Like kind of walk me through the layers underneath that, right? Like let's say I don't understand fully. Are you strength training? And is that how you're getting out of breath? Or are you doing cardiovascular training? Unpack that for me.
My simplest answer would be D, all the above. And the reason I'm able to do D, all the above is because um, I have learned or become a student of the way of the body, of the way it's designed to move, because it comes back to my goal, which my goal to improve my health is not selfishly to look good. It was at one point, but now my motivation to improve my health is to improve my love, is so that I can become a more loving person. I can be a better dad, father, business owner, spouse, neighbor, volunteer. And I know when my body, my physical body, is in a better physical health shape, then I can do that. So I know that in order to do that, each different area, each different person, each different relationship demands something different of me. My relationship with my wife demands something different than my relationship with my kids, and my relationship when I volunteer with my sixth grade boys at Sunday at church. So I know that I need to be able to train what I call every slice of the fitness pie. That fitness is what my goal is a 400-meter sprint or a heavy bench press or the 2-minute push-up military test or rock climbing or being able to go on a hour-long walk with a group of friends. Like, I'm going to focus on all those things because I don't know what life's going to throw my way, but I want to be able to love each person in that season. So I'm going to train every slice of the pie.
So let's talk about that specifically, Alex. If I'm listening, listeners, this would be the first thing. At Hola, the primary focus that we share initially is that you should exercise in a way that you enjoy.
That's
That's the
it.
first thing.
That's it.
The main reason we share that is because if you move in a way you enjoy, you're going to be more consistent. And if you're more
Yes.
consistent, it's going to stretch across season and your entire life. That's the vision for movement, the application of movement in a truly healthy life. However, two clarifications. One, because you enjoy something doesn't mean that it is not demanding at times or even challenging for you to do that version of exercise. The second is that you can still have specific goals and move in a way that you enjoy, and that might not align with your goals. For example, if you want to put on muscle and all you're doing is running, and running's your favorite way to move, you're not going to move towards the goal that you're articulating. And so, Alex, what I would love to do here is honestly kind of paint the picture of the value of each of these variances underneath the
Okay.
bucket of fitness and talking about strength and talking about kind of some conditioning focus and talking about outside of those two things, what can we be doing? And so, listeners, this is really going to be a conversation on the value of each of these things and why
Okay.
incorporating these more into the week and your kind of overflow of pursuing a greater level of fitness might be valuable for you. So, Alex, let's start with strength training. Why specifically is strength training valuable? And what encouragement would you give for someone who's looking to strength train starting out?
Strength training improves so many aspects of your physical body,
Mm-hmm.
and it allows you to love others the way they need to be loved. But let's just put that aside really quick.
Yeah,
That
let's talk this episode. Let's talk specifically about like the health benefits outside
right,
of the love piece because we preface that everybody knows if we're a fitter version of ourselves, we're better able to love.
right.
But we're talking about alignment with science and the benefits and physically all that jazz. Let's go.
So as we age, we decrease muscle mass, and we need to
Mm-hmm.
intentionally improve our muscle mass so that we can have the capacity to tackle whatever life throws our way. So strength training is an intentional way that we are going to not only improve our muscle mass, but it actually improves the connective tissue, tendons, and ligaments, and the bone density of your body. So
Yeah.
that's the important piece of that. So that when I'm, for example, doing whatever life throws my way, I know that my body can withstand that because what's called time under tension, whether it's a heavier load week over week, let's say I go 50 pounds and 60 pounds, 70 pounds, it's the science behind progressive overload. My actual structure of my bodies, my musculoskeletal system, including everything I just listed out, will over time increase in strength or increase in the ability to withstand load because I've slowly and safely and effectively put more load week over time. So it's just going to benefit your capacity to withstand, honestly, both external and internal load. But that's
Yeah.
besides the point.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's improving your body's durability, your ability to withstand some sort of friction, whether that is like literal load or that is hardship. I mean, I think of the value of strength training. You're kind of pushing the body physically and managing the tension there, but that also applies outside of fitness as well.
Trevor,
And
I would also say the second piece to that is it severely reduces injury. That
yeah,
when I fall because I tripped, I have, like you said, the durability, the resiliency, just the muscle mass or bone density to protect myself. That
right.
I'm such a clumsy person. I'm tripping or stubbing or falling or just running to the side of a cabinet. That thankfully my body has grown in strength and, like, I like the word you said, durability, to reduce. Not we're not injury free, but I've gotten way less injuries because I've strength trained.
Yeah, and if someone's interested in strength training, just kind of broadly speaking, I mean, you could do this every day, right? If this is your favorite way to exercise, you could do it every day. We're going to talk about kind of the cardiovascular slash conditioning pieces and the value that that brings in general. But
Okay.
when it comes to strength training, I think 2 to 4 times a week, specifically focused on that, is a general good rule of thumb for individuals. Again, it depends on the goal, it depends on what you enjoy, but overarchingly, that's a great place to start. And I think
Yeah.
really lowering the complexity of strength training gets people in the door and keeps them there. And the easiest way to
Yeah.
do that is to focus on the big compound lifts, which are going to be your back squat, your bench press and shoulder press. It's going to be your deadlift. And then from there, you could potentially add in a couple other things, maybe some lunges with load. That's going to be, squat, hinging, which is the deadlift, pushing, pulling from the floor, deadlift again, and then single leg movement. Those are kind of the big lifts. Think, with a barbell or even starting out with a dumbbell or a Smith machine. Those would be my encouragements. Focusing on those movements would be where I would encourage people to start. Or if you've been doing it a while, focusing more there than kind of some of the more accessory movements that you would see with machines or lighter dumbbell loads or cables.
Yeah. I always encourage people to start with the bigger muscle groups, the compound uh, exercises first, because I say you'll get the most bang for your buck, the greatest return on
100%.
investment, because you're using more than just one isolated muscle. And if we go to the nervous system now, your brain has to work even harder to send the signal or the input to contract more muscles than just maybe your bicep. For example, if I'm doing a power clean or a deadlift, I'm using a plethora of muscles. So the strain from my nervous system, not even just my musculoskeletal system, is going to increase as well, because your nervous system, kind of going to the nitty gritty here, can also be trained as well. Like, we can
Yeah.
improve the strength and the durability of our nervous system, the output, the electrical currents, all of that by exercise. So there's also that piece as well.
Yeah. And to articulate, we mentioned, we didn't say this word specifically, but those compound lifts and strength training, ideally the focus should be to improve your ability, your functional ability for your body. So people talk about functional fitness, functional movement. The compound lifts
Yeah.
are functional movements, and they
Yeah.
pour over directly outside of the gym, which again, we move inside the gym to improve life outside of the gym, just like we talked about. But each of those compound movements are functional because it recruits your entire body. Some areas are maybe potentially a little bit more focused, but versus a preacher curl bent over on a bench is really only
Sure.
focused on the bicep and it's not pouring over to other areas.
Which, let me preface, I did curls yesterday. We're not anti single bodybuilding type specific muscle groups. I literally have already done that twice this week. We're just saying there is a place and time for each of them. And when we're talking about the fitness pie, as long as we're getting each slice, we are going to improve our fitness or improve our muscle mass. Trevor, the third point I'll say before we move on to the cardiovascular piece is strength training is one of the best ways to improve muscle mass, whether it's raw strength or more of that like 10 to 12 type like muscular endurance type reps of like hypertrophy. That increased muscle mass is the number one controllable way to improve your metabolism or the way your body uses energy. So if we have any weight loss goal, or if we have some sort of like body toning or just want to look good, feel good, which 99% of us do, then we need muscle mass that's going to improve our metabolism because we need to feed our muscles.
Right.
Our muscles not only need protein, but they need carbohydrates to not only move, but to recover. Like so many people don't understand that, like, hey, if you want to actually increase your metabolism and lose weight, we need to put on as much muscle as we can, because that is the number one controllable factor. So that's another reason.
Yeah, and not to go down the nutrition route, but to kind of sum this one up here and then, move on to the second piece of the fitness pie, if you will, is strength training has a lot of value and it's going to help you build muscle mass. So many people want to tone up, lean up. When they say that, what they'll mean is they want to reduce body fat percentage and they want to increase their muscle mass. Whether you realize or not, that's what you're saying. And one of the easiest ways to do that is strength training, and then nourishing your body properly by giving it proteins, carbohydrates, and fats to nourish the body and recover and repair. We're not going into the nutrition piece. We're staying on the exercise specific. Let's go to the other side of the pie. You want to say
Sure,
something?
I'll say one last thing, then let's go to the other side of the pie. Is notice how the first 3 to 4 things that we said were not to look good. But I will caveat that is a byproduct. There's nothing wrong with wanting to improve the looks of our body as long as that's not our main motivation to increase our health. Yes, I would rather be fit and in shape and be confident in my skin rather than the opposite. But if that's the main thing I'm looking for, there's a lot of other risks that are involved as far as putting my identity in it, becoming obsessed with it, making it an insecurity. There's other things. But when we pursue true health and we understand strength training for the health and the ability and just the way God designed rather than vanity and looks, if we pursue this piece first, man, it is so much more freeing. So we're not anti-looks, like we both want to look good, but that will come in due time rather than that being our first pursuit.
Alex, let's talk about the second piece of the pie here with fitness when it comes to kind of conditioning or the more endurance focused training. What's your philosophy there? And I know we're talking about getting out of breath, but what's the value there? And listeners, we said 20 minutes. It'll be a little over 20 minutes on this episode because, again, trying to hit 30,000 foot view briefly to provide value for you guys. But Alex, let's talk a little bit about that for a minute.
If we're looking at every fitness pie and improving the different attributes of our physical health, strength training, yes, has benefits everywhere. But if I'm going to improve my musculoskeletal system, my nervous system, if I'm looking at my cardio, I'm looking at my respiratory and my cardiovascular system primarily. Like people don't realize that your heart is a muscle, and every muscle needs to be developed, needs to be trained. That when we look at quote unquote cardio, then we are developing our heart muscle, the efficiency of blood to be circulated to all of our brain, heart, like all of our organs. And that is a very, very important piece to the status of our health. And then the other piece is our respiratory endurance, basically the ability of our lungs to distribute oxygen to our tissues and remove carbon dioxide. That's super important because if that efficiency is low or if that capacity is low, then we can develop a bunch of chronic conditions. Like think of all the heart disease and all the heart issues that come. And then when people start running or CrossFit or Pilates or Orange Theory, they're getting out of breath, they're sweating. Not only are they feeling good, but a lot of their heart conditions come down. The metabolic syndrome piece is kind of reduced because that heart is getting work. So that's another area why if we're trying to steward our health well, we're kind of looking at those pieces specifically, not even including the mental aspects that 30 minutes of a moderate intensity workout equals a low-grade antidepressant. That the chemicals that are released, the endorphins that are released in your brain is the equivalent of an antidepressant. That's why people feel so good or blow off steam or, man, I feel good after my workout. That's why. because of that heart rate elevation signaling to the brain to release those pieces, it is so freeing. So there's so many benefits to the cardio piece.
Yeah, it comes really down to the way that the cardio piece impacts the heart for me, and just the value that that provides, knowing that it's accumulation of many things. It's not just some sort of conditioning training that's gonna prevent any chronic illness or disease. It's kind of a culmination of several things outside of just the cardio specific exercise, but it has a place, right? And so listeners, very similarly to the strength training aspect, is this being incorporated into your weekly kind of exercise routine. Really comes back to, again, what do you enjoy? Like, right? Let's say I'm a runner. I like to run. So I'm probably going to run more than I strength train. But there's a place for strength training. If you want to be a better runner, guess what? If you strength train, you'll be a better runner. If you strength train and you just want to be more adaptable outside of the gym to manage anything and just increase overall fitness, guess what? You get into some conditioning style workouts and exercise. It's going to improve that. And it doesn't have to be just running. It can be swimming, biking, rowing, running. It can be integrating those things into a version with weights. That's one thing that more high intense exercise such as CrossFit or other organizations kind of implement those into some training methodology and practice. But overarchingly, each of these things have a ton of value for you. And if you're starting out, it's kind of really determined and comes back to what's your goal. What do you want to see for yourself? Is it aesthetic phase or focused? Excuse me. There's nothing wrong with that, but again, trying to figure out, are the things I'm doing from an exercise perspective aligning with the goals that I have, and just like we talked about at the beginning of the episode, allowing me to love other people better by improving
Yeah.
myself in the gym to improve things outside of the gym. Would you agree, Alex?
Absolutely. Trevor, one thing we did not say is the sole purpose is to lose weight. That's such a misconception that
Yeah.
I'm just going to go do cardio, or after Thanksgiving, I'm going to go do my turkey trot to burn off my calories. That's such a skewed view of health. And if you are in the place that you are looking at cardio to be your sole means of weight loss, one, there's a better way. And two, there's a better way that science actually shows that if you want to be in a calorie deficit, if you want to lose weight, it is actually more effective through non-physical, non-exercise activity thermogenesis called NEAT movement rather than exercise. Where if you are just moving more throughout the day and intentionally exercising, you will actually burn more than just being sedentary and exercising. We could do a whole separate podcast on that. If you have questions, please DM either me or Trevor. We can get you some resources. The second piece I was going to say, Trevor, is when it comes to the cardio piece, when it comes to our overall health, it is very, very important that we train our heart not in just one domain or one capacity. We want to do short, hard, and long, slow. That if I'm just training my heart in just 10-second bursts, it's going to be really efficient at that initial, 10-second burst, but then we also want to train the long endurance pieces, which is why we might do intensities at 90-95% where it's really high heart rate and we're getting really out of breath, and then the next day we're going to do a 30-40-50 minute just long slow burner that's getting the heart rate up gradually over time. So both are important.
Yeah, and here's, as we're kind of rounding third, bringing the ship down to the harbor, there's
closing the barn door.
Closing the barn door, man. We're putting the dog to sleep. Not that way. Bad analogy, Trevor.
There's a dog asleep.
There's a lot of nuances here, right? And this is where people get really caught up, and it's like, I'm just not going to do it. First off, something's always better than nothing.
Amen.
Second of all, just have some variance. If you're confused on what to do, just start with 2 and 2. 2 days strength training, 2 days of some sort of conditioning or cardiovascular, and just focus on the big movements. Go push, pull, and do bench press and deadlifts. And then the next day strength training, do some squats and single leg movements. And then when you're doing your conditioning, go for a 30-minute jog. And then the next time do, 5 sets of 200 meters as fast as you can. Really just try not to get too complex with it. We could talk forever on this one, but there's value in the strength training. There's value in the conditioning / cardiovascular style training. And then just like Alex said, if the goal is some sort of weight loss oriented goal, which is totally okay to have, right? You're going to get more value from being purposeful with your time in the gym, but then being physically active, moving your body outside of the time of the gym, not doing more cardio. Science actually proves if you really want to make the most out of your weight loss, you should be strength training, because that what happens is your body is continually burning calories and expending energy post that strength training at a higher
Exactly.
rate than when you do cardio. And I'll just share this little side note. We could talk about this one for quite a long time. The calories that you burn on your smartwatch, your wearable, or on a piece of machine aren't accurate. So there's no point in you even looking at it. They should only be used to gauge some sort of work that you're completing. If there's some focus of like, I'm going to get to 15 calories and then I'm going to rest, those don't matter. You're not actually burning 400 calories. I hate to burst your bubble. And so that doesn't, you should focus on exercise as a means to an end to help you in every area of your life so that you are stewarding your body well and able to love other people better outside of the gym. It's not punishment. It's not an expectation.
Restriction.
Yeah, it's not restriction. It's not any of those things. It is something that obviously is demanding and, it's going to require effort, but it should overarchingly be something that you enjoy and that brings life to your life, not takes away from it.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I see where you're getting at. It does matter, and it's important to the person, especially if someone is initially going. But I 1000% agree. We should not put all of our eggs in one basket. That is not the end all be all. And just because you went on a walk or did an exercise without your Apple Watch, it does count. That's one of my exercise pet peeves. Like, my workout didn't count. My watch died. No, your workout counted. You still burned the calories within your body, whether that piece of machine counted it or not. And that's just kind of going back to like, no, my health is first. I'm not being controlled by something else. Like I'm using it as a means to an end and stewarding well, rather than like the Apple Watch telling me what to do. That's my pet peeve, but I see what you're getting at.
Yeah, 100%. And culture makes exercise focus on only the benefits it brings to your body. There's so much more to exercise than what happens to your body. And I would argue way more value than just the body. So again, we just hit like tip of the iceberg on each of these things. The takeaways for you guys are just in the ways that you enjoy working out, do that first. And as you start to incorporate more exercise into your rhythms, start to look at an area that you potentially don't do as much, whether that's strength training, cardiovascular, conditioning, some short and fast stuff, or some longer, slower stuff. Try to incorporate the variance, because what it's going to do is help you, honestly, probably move towards your goals in a more efficient way, and more importantly, love others outside of the gym. Be prepared for what life has outside of the gym. So if you have any questions on this, you can reach out to us on social media at Holo Health, or you could reach out to Alex and I specifically. And if you just are overarchingly confused or don't even know where to start, here's what I would suggest. We've got a free PDF, a free guide that shows you how to make the most of your time inside of a busy schedule. It unpacks sleep, how to manage your nutrition, and workouts, which we just talked about. It includes workouts in there. You can access that guide inside of the show notes here, or you could go to holohealth, HOLOHLTH.com/60 minutes. You can grab the guide there again, or in the show notes. Listeners, we hope you took something away from this one. Overarchingly, we just want you to keep moving, because when you move, you improve. Isn't that right, AC?
That's right. Movement is medicine, baby.
Come on. You guys are legends. We appreciate you as always, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See ya.